Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. My name is Johnny Coleman, and I'm the United States Marshal for the Western District of Oklahoma. And we're here to talk about the results of a warrant sweep. And proud to be along many of my colleagues here today. I'd like to start by introducing a few people. First off, Chief Basie, thanks for letting us use your room today, and thanks for being such a great partner. We also have United States Attorney Bob Traister. We have Resident Agent in Charge Brendan Taylor with the ATF, along with Resident Agent in Charge Candace Garza with the ATF. We have Oklahoma County Under Sheriff Jim Anderson here with us, along with Edmond Police Chief Tim Dorsey and Major A.C. Hopper. Appreciate y'all being here. You know, the agencies represented that I just introduced, a lot of them make up some of our federal task force that we have here. The U.S. Marshals Metro Fugitive Task Force was created in 1991, and obviously been doing a lot of work ever since then. And we'd like to recognize all those that are involved, even though it's quite a long list. But that just shows what the partnerships are all about. Of course, the Oklahoma City Police Department, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, the Oklahoma Department of Corrections, the Oklahoma Highway Patrol, the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office, the United States Postal Service, Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, Logan County Sheriff's Office, Comanche County Sheriff's Office, the Midwest City Police Department, the Edmond Police Department, the Yukon Police Department, the Department of Homeland Security, the Oklahoma Attorney General's Office, the Shawnee Police Department, and the Chickasaw Light Horse Police Department. And once again, we've teamed up in an effort to try and make our community a little safer. Starting back on August the 14th through today, the Marshal Services hosted Operation Fair Game. This operation was a multi-agency violent crime reduction initiative which partnered federal, state, and local law enforcement officers to try and help reduce violent crime and take dangerous offenders off the streets. You know, an operation like this takes a tremendous amount of preparation and coordination behind the scenes before the officers ever hit the streets. A lot of that preparation is accomplished by crime analysts. They conduct research that ultimately lead to these arrests being made. Oftentimes, they don't get the credit they deserve, but I like to recognize them today because it's thanks to them that this operation was so successful. It's also important to thank our community partners. You know, this first part of this operation, as you know, was very, very hot. And we'd like to thank Walmart for providing water and Gatorade to all the officers, and also the Oklahoma City Police Association and the Fraternal Order of Police for helping provide some meals for our officers. In this warrant seat, since August the 14th, 119 people have been arrested for a variety of charges, including 8 for homicide. 18 were for some type of felony assault, which included a number of domestic violence. 12 were narcotics violations. 29 involved the unlawful possession of weapons. And we also cleared an additional 81 warrants during this operation. There were 22 firearms seized, which gives you an idea of how many guns are out there on the streets. Also, several narcotics arrests were made. One yielded 6 ounces of fentanyl, and another yielded over 12 ounces of meth. You know, as agency heads, we stand up here and represent the men and women that work for us. However, they're the ones out there every day risking their lives to keep us safe. So I'd like to recognize them because without their efforts, we wouldn't be up here being able to take the credit for this type of an operation. And to illustrate that partnership, I'll just highlight one case. On August the 21st, early in the morning, the Oklahoma City Police Department responded to a homicide at Southwest 36th and Parkview. Homicide investigators and crime scene investigators processed the scene and interviewed witnesses. A suspect was developed. Upon identifying that suspect, it was known that he had an unrelated felony warrant. Well, that was related to the U.S. Marshal Service, and he was ultimately arrested later that same day and brought down here to be interviewed and arrested for that homicide. And I point that out for teamwork and cooperation, but let me reiterate that this occurs all the time, not just during one of these operations. So for now, I'd like to turn it over to Oklahoma City Police Department Chief Ron Basie. Ron?
Good morning, and thank you for being here. I'd like to echo the words of Marshal Kuhlman when I extend my gratitude to all of the agencies that participated in this spectacular operation, Operation Fair Game. That's what makes Oklahoma City so great, and I say it time and time again, and this is proof of that. We talk about the statistics that he just laid out. There's a statistic that can't be measured. It can be, but the impact of those crimes to victims and the people who know and love those individuals are the people that I really want to send my thoughts out today. This is an additional step in ensuring justice for them and hopefully helping them take a step closer to some type of closure, or at least finding a little bit more peace, knowing that these dangerous individuals have been apprehended for these heinous crimes. It's amazing when you hear those stats, and we've only done this, I think, since August 14th, and those people were walking around the streets of Oklahoma City, and who knows what crimes they would have committed if not apprehended. And so, again, to those men and women who have worked so hard, the analysts and anyone else in a non-sworn position who stepped up and did all of the research and provided sometimes ongoing and consistent intel and information to help the officers out at the scenes or trying to locate these individuals. Phenomenal job. I think you have to associate the word high risk with all of these individuals. So we say the word apprehensions, and I don't think people can really get a grasp of how dangerous these people are and how much work goes into safely apprehending them. It's those men and women who go out there put a lot at risk to themselves when they go out after these individuals. And they did a phenomenal job, 119 individuals. With that being said, I'm a man of few words on most occasions, and I can only say good job to everyone. Oklahoma City is a safer place tonight because of this effort. Thank you to all of our community partners again, and I'm going to turn it over to Bob Tracer from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Marshal. Again, I'm Bob Traster, United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma. And as the Chief said, Oklahoma City is safer today because of this operation. And it's because of this operation and the united force between federal, state, and local partners in pursuing those that have violent felony warrants outstanding. These individuals have already been charged for which these warrants have been issued. Yet we're not in custody. And it's due to the great work, the organizational efforts put together by the Marshal Service and Oklahoma City Police Department, but by the men and women who each day in their teams went out to pursue each individual to bring them to justice and take them off our streets and keep them from preventing further crimes. This is done through a partnership. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind the community, our relationship between federal, state, and local law enforcement here is incredibly strong. And it is unique, perhaps, that when you compare to other parts of the country. We work in very close partnership on all matters, like this. As an example of that, the U.S. Attorney's Office has a full-time prosecutor embedded in our office, employed by the city of Oklahoma City. Lainey Ellis, over here, who's with me today, is with the city attorney's office, but she's full-time embedded in our office to assist in the federal prosecution of violent crimes in the city of Oklahoma City. Again, to strengthen that partnership that we already have, the strong partnership with our state and local partners. We will be reviewing these cases, particularly those with firearms and narcotics that were found, to determine whether federal charges are also going to be appropriate for these individuals. So again, I can't thank local law enforcement enough for taking on this task. Again, it is a dangerous task, but 119 people have been removed from the streets, and we still have a few more days to complete the operation. This is a good day for Oklahoma City, as we are safer today than we were before this operation started. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And just to add on to that, we truly appreciate the support of your office. Our job is to get them in front of the judicial system. And once again, that's where they take over to prosecute these individuals. So we appreciate your help. Through these strong partnerships, we'll continue to focus our resources where they're needed most to help our community make a safer place. Again, I'd like to thank all of our partners that are here today and all the ones that are part of our task force and reiterate our commitment for this critical mission to keep our community safe. Thank you all for coming today. And if anybody has any questions, be glad to try and entertain them.
Is the operation
It actually ends tomorrow. Yes, ma'am. Well, that was easy. Yes, sir.
What were your goals? You told us what you achieved. What were your goals for apprehension?
First off, we don't really set a number.
Okay.
Our goal is simply to try and take the warrants that we have and identify those warrants, conduct the research, and try and arrest those people. And once again, the task force does this work every day, 365 days a year. This is just a concerted effort, a big sweep for 2 weeks to try and focus on a lot of these violent offenders.
What was the pool of warrants that you were looking at?
We probably had a couple of hundred, and we'll continue to work on those even after this operation ends.
Was everybody safe during this? Were there any issues in apprehending any of the suspects?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to report that there were no injuries, either on the law enforcement side or on any of the individuals that we apprehended.
Do you have a number of how many law enforcement agencies were just out on the streets doing these operations? I know there were tons of different agencies, but a number to be exact, maybe?
Once again, each day varied based on manpower from all the different agencies involved. But there were a lot, I would say the average day was somewhere between 50 and 70 officers out during the day, and then an equal number out in the evening.
Do you all have a number of, like, or I guess a list of what the crimes these suspects were wanted for, and like how many firearms, how many amounts of drugs and that type of thing?
Once again, the two largest narcotic seizures was 12 ounces of meth and a little over 6 ounces of fentanyl, which we all know how dangerous that is. There were 22 firearms recovered, and the warrants, all 119, let's say 8 were homicide. The rest were literally a litany of all charges: robbery, assaults, ADWs, narcotics violations. It just covered the entire gamut of violent crimes.
This was a really big effort that took, a lot of planning from the different law enforcement agencies. Is this something that you guys see doing biannually, every 6 months? How often do you plan to do a big operation like this?
The next one's already being planned. Yes, ma'am.
There's quite a bit of anxiety out there about just the appearance of law enforcement, people being able to correctly identify law enforcement. Didn't used to be this kind of pressure just even a few years ago. Now there is. And maybe Chief Basie can answer this better, but you may be able to too. Are there uniformed Oklahoma City police officers doing overwatch around there where next door neighbors, across the street neighbors can look out there and see a uniformed officer out there when you're doing your operation?
Well, and I'll let him answer as well, but I can tell you that every team that we sent out had uniformed Oklahoma City officers with marked police cars with them when there was an arrest made. That way it was very clear. Plus, everybody on our task force, their vests are well marked with police, U.S. Marshal, or police on the front and back. So there's no doubt. Badges, yes, sir. But every team had marked Oklahoma City police cars along with uniformed officers present. And for that reason, we don't want anybody to mistake who we are and what we're there for. All right. Thank you all very much for coming. We appreciate it because this is an important part, too, to relay to the community what our commitment is, and we appreciate you all doing your job to help relay that to the community. Thank you very much.